Okay, so this is episode 11, and at this point, you may recall, and at the end of the last episode, I sort of got stuck. I broadened my list as wide as I could, and then I ran them through my rhyme checker, and I kept getting 0. I kept getting no matches at all. I did actually note, if you were looking closely, you may have noticed that I actually ran the wrong function to check, and I got no output, but I ran the right function, I still got no output, so it still is wrong. I left everything up and running because I spent a little time between these two videos figuring some things out, and I think I've got a way forward, and I think the end is near. I feel like this is almost done, or at least it's in range. Let me start my timer and see if I can do this in 10 minutes. Probably not, but I'll get as close as I can. So the main thing I want to do, this is the point in the project where I think it helps to step back and kind of revisit my assumptions. And I think what's giving me problems is that my template is too narrow. So I'm expecting this thing to match that initial silly poem I came up with. I am a walrus, I live near the beaches. When I'm alone, I eat secret peaches. And a lot of that I like, and so I was trying to see if there's any other, I like the repeated E sound in that last line, I eat secret peaches. So that's why I named it Secret Peaches as a project. But I think that was just too narrow, and I think that it's hard to find a series of words like that has that same kind of repeating sound and then fit it into my rhyme scheme. So I think if I revise my template somewhat, I can get something similar but broader and hopefully find some things that will actually fit into it. So of course that first line doesn't need to change because it's just I am a, and then there's several animals that can go in there. That part seems to be working fine. It doesn't have to rhyme with anything, so I don't need to touch it. I think living near also is helpful because near, I can apply that to any kind of place name, like a city or a country or a body of water, and it still makes sense. It might be strange to say something like I live near Texas, but we'll live with that for now. I think the problem is coming into these last two lines where it's like, when I'm alone, I eat secret, whatever. So I think it makes sense to, first of all, change this so I can have a singular. And then also if I can change it so that the verb for accessing this item, the food item, isn't eat, then that lets me expand my list of possible things here to drinks. And I did a little bit of testing with this already, and I got about 12 matches using some of the modifications that I'm about to do now. I think I can make that a bit more. I made a copy of this project where I was testing. I think I can get more than 12, but let's see what I can do. So with this line, I think what I'm going to change this to is, first of all, actually add some punctuation. If you come visit, I'll give you and then it's something. So it might be a beer, it might be a bagel, or it might be different things. It doesn't matter now what verb you would use to consume this thing, because what matters is that it's a gift in this context. I can also later, I can change that definite article there, or indefinite article A. I can make it A-N for words that start with vowels, but that's an easy thing to do kind of as a last cleaning up, finishing touch kind of thing. So let's go back into what we've got. So here's, I am a goat, I live near Decatur. If you come visit, I'll give you a grapes. It doesn't matter, grapes. So let's go in here and let's expand some of these lists. Now that I've made it so that I can have other kinds of food, I'm going to add some beverages as well. So here's a list of beers. And a lot of these are going to be too long, but there's a few that'll fit, so we'll go ahead and add them anyway. And that's the wrong project. I'm going to go ahead and stick this one way over here so I don't get distracted by it. Okay, so I'm going to add types of beers now. And I'm going to go ahead and just call this foods because I no longer need it to be plural. So now I've got this new function called get foods. I have a few other things here, but let's see how many foods I have now. So we're up to 95. So that, I think that added one beer style. That's not good, but I mean, I hoped for more, but okay. I don't know if bad beers is already included in that. No, I think these are different. So I will add the bad beers as well. I mean, it's a gift. It doesn't have to be a good gift. And really, these aren't all that bad. It's just that they're called that in this list structure. Depends on how picky you are. What do we got here? Okay, so it's just called bad beers. Okay, So let's see how many we get. 99. So we added a few more. It's something. So I could try. I don't know. I'm still kind of curious about these curds, but I'm not sure. So let's check on. We could add tea now. Yeah, lots and lots of kinds of tea. That's interesting that coffee is listed as a type of tea. I mean, I guess they're both similar in that you have something that's derived from a plant that you steep in hot water. So maybe tea is the broader category of thing that coffee is actually part of, even though we think of those as complementary but different kinds of things. Okay, interesting. This kind of thing you find out with the taxonomy. So we'll just add these teas in, and then we'll see how that looks. Where's my? There they are. Just called teas. Okay. No resource named teas. All right, because it's T. And then the value within the dictionary is T's. So 124, great. So that added quite a few more. So we're getting somewhere. Okay, so now we're also going to add in, the other thing I was thinking too in terms of flexibility is like if you say I live near, my initial template expected that to be, where'd it go? Something like the beaches, so 3 syllables with the middle syllable stressed. But I think it also works okay if you do it with a 2-syllable word where the first syllable is stressed. So I was originally thinking of it, things like I live near Missouri to match that rhyme scheme that you get there, the unstressed, stressed, unstressed. But I think it's still okay if you just add it like live near Texas. I mean, if you were to add if you have the front part of that stress, I think that also still is okay. So I want to adapt my place finder to include those options as well. And I think that's going to help a lot. So let's go down here and do that. I have a few more place names lists that I found that might also be helpful. But we'll first of all kind of make this a bit more flexible. Oh yeah, and the other thing I can do is I don't need to pluralize these anymore. So I'm going to get rid of this whole thing here. And go and save and run that. So in the places, I'm going to, well, only 3 minutes left. Great. I'm going to need to rearrange this stuff a little bit. So because right here, this is where I check, does it have 3 syllables? And if it does, then it moves down here to check the stresses and to find the stresses, and then it goes in here and checks where the stress actually lies. So I can do this in a slightly different way. I'm going to need to check for a different stress pattern if it's 3 syllables or 2 syllables, but I'm going to need the stress pattern either way. So I think it makes sense to just check the stress pattern first, get the stress pattern first. So I'm going to move that out of that conditional, and then I'm going to do a couple things. So I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to append it to the keepers list. That's my kind of success thing. If both of these things are true now, you can see how this is valid the way it's written. If this is true, then it moves on to this, and if this is true, it moves on to this, where it keeps it into the list here. We can actually combine these, and it makes it a bit easier to read. So we can just put this into a single check here, and if I do this here, I have to make sure I keep track of my indentations. Oops, too many. So this should work, actually. Where does this get places? Yeah, so that's working fine. But I also want to expand this to include 2-syllable place names that have that first syllable stressed. So I'm going to add another check here. The way you do this in Python, it's a little awkward. I mean, in other language, sometimes you write out the whole word else if. Sometimes you make this odd new word called elif, which is apparently what you have to do for Python. I don't know. Now I'm checking for 2-syllable words and then a different stress pattern. If you recall, when I did this before, I'm checking for a string in a particular position in the stress pattern string that's returned. It's going to be a string of numbers, and the primary stress syllable is going to be a 1. And so I'm checking to see if that's in the first position in that string. So that's at position 0. So that's why I'm checking for stresses 0. And I still want to check to see if that's 1. And if it is, then I'm going to go here and add it to that. And let's see how many places I end up with. 678. All right, great. So that's a pretty big list. That's already pretty big, but I did find another list or two that would be possible to add. So I'm going to go ahead and add these in just to have a bit more stuff going on. In geography, you can add the Canadian municipalities, which has a similar kind of structure where it's a list of objects like this with a name, so I have to do the list comprehension with those again. So I'm going to go ahead and do those. That one was called municipalities, but it's the name. There's my time, but I'm going to finish this here for place in Canadian municipalities. Okay, I think that's good. So, nope, I missed something. Municipalities, I misspelled that. There you go, 699. That's a much bigger number now. And I have a feeling this is going to actually return some pairs. So I'm going to do this, and then that'll wrap up this video. And then I think I can finish everything. I think I can finish everything in the next video. So let's see if this works. And so I defined it. I didn't change anything here. If this runs, then it should say, and it finds a match, it should say I found something, and then it should print it out. Let's see if it does. And, oh, it didn't. Oh, I know why, because I'm pulling the wrong list. So here I'm using this function, getFoodS's, which doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so, a little nervous. Let's try it again. Hey, it found some things. Great. Okay, only about 12, but that's something, and I think I'm feeling pretty good about that. So I'm gonna, I might tweak a little bit more before the next video, but I think we're nearing the end. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Thanks for watching episode 11.